Hi guys, I'm back. I just wanted to do a part 2 from my last video because I just didn't feel I talked enough about it. Maybe I just need to vent to all of you because I've been reading some of your comments from my last video and they're very, very kind and I appreciate that. I just wanted to kind of continue it because it is such a serious thing in my life, and I've had a lot of guilt about it in so many ways, a lot of guilt, and it's been very difficult to cope with that guilt. And it's strange, guys, because it even applied to when I was in high school. If you're watching this video and you haven't watched my last video previous to this one, you need to watch that one first. It's part 1 and this is kind of part 2, so you'll know where I'm coming from. But even in high school, I remember I had to take Algebra 1 3 years in a row, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I could not get algebra for the life of me, no matter what. No matter how I studied, no matter how the teacher helped me, I could not get algebra. It was impossible. And in my senior year, my algebra teacher said, I'm going to pass you with a D- so you can graduate because you're never going to be able to get math. You're just not going to be able to. And he was right. He was absolutely right. It was not a negative thing for him to say. He saw that, hold on a minute, guys. He saw that it was truly a struggle that I just could not cope with. And he said, promise me that you'll never get a job or a career involving math because you are one of the many people you just can't grasp math. He was very kind about it. It wasn't like, you're just so dumb. No, he said, I remember he sat me down and he said, look, some people just can't get math. That's all there is to it. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's just your brain doesn't work in the direction of math. It won't work. And it didn't. I struggled. Even with the basics of multiplication, I remember struggling with that when I was, younger in school. So it was like, it was strange to me because of all places, my art class, in art, I was an A+ student the entire time I took art. That was the one place that I felt I could be me. I felt I could be myself. I don't know why, but I loved art. I was so happy in that class. It wasn't even funny. I can't just even thinking about it right now, reminiscing about that, it makes me emotional because I remember walking into that art class and I felt I could be me. I was me, drawing, painting. I remember we worked on clay. Oh, I loved it when we went to work on clay. I made a beautiful vase. It was a really beautiful vase. And I think back now because it was green, and my favorite color is green, certain greens. But I made this beautiful vase out of clay, and I was so proud of it. And I remember the teacher walking up, and she was like, I'm so proud of you. You did so good. And she said, this just comes to you naturally. She goes, it's amazing. And her name was Miss Gossett. And I remember her telling me that she loved my artwork and she loved how I expressed myself. So that was the one class that I loved with all my heart. And English, strangely enough. Hold on, guys, I gotta turn this heater off because it's too loud. I keep forgetting to do this. Anyway, English, oddly enough, was another class that I absolutely loved. Of all things, English. And I remember doing so well in spelling that my teacher actually, like, we would take the test and she would go down each desk and look at the paper to just kind of grade it right there. She'd look at it, okay. Well, I remember one day she skipped by my desk and I thought, what did she do that for? And then I raised my hand. I said, I can't remember her name, but it was like, Miss whatever, you didn't check my paper. And she goes, I don't need to check your paper. You get 100 every single time you turn in a spelling test. And I was like, oh. She goes, no need to waste my time checking yours. And so I was like, oh, okay. I literally got 100 on every spelling test that we took. Everything in English I did great in. It was just like it came, it's like I could hang on, or I could just comprehend that really well, the English. And the art was such a place of joy for me. True art where I could just really, I remember just drawing and just painting and coloring and what have you, and working with that clay. I'll never forget the joy of working with the clay. It was just so relaxing and so beautiful and wonderful to see the creation that I made from clay. And so it's confusing to me how I was able to be so good at certain things in school and then so bad, like in science. Oh my God, science and math. And when I talked to my doctor about it, the same one I talked to about this direction issue, she said, that's because those require really mapping stuff in your brain. Really mapping. She goes, math, forget it. She goes, science, think about what science was. And I was like, yeah, I hated it. And so that's something that affected me a lot as this continued through my adulthood. And that's why I just wanted to make a little part 2 video. It astounded me that I could do so well in certain classes, and in others if he wouldn't have passed me in algebra, I wouldn't have graduated. But he knew, he understood. I'll never forget his face as he talked so seriously to me. The way he said it, his tone of voice, like, it's just not for you, don't worry about it. It's just not for you. He could have made me feel like I was just a dummy, but he didn't. And so I never did get involved with anything concerning math, no job or whatever. Any job I had, no. But to continue with this direction issue, I used to work in a hospital back in the 70s. I was the central supply, one of the central supply people. You know, the ones that have the big old carts and they have all the supplies on them that you see in all the hospital rooms and everything. We had to go take inventory and then go get it, and then go take it, you know, go get the inventory products we needed. Then we'd have to go back to all the hospital rooms to put all the stuff up. It was a terrible job. I hated it. But we never had the same floor. One day it'd be the 3rd floor, the 2nd floor, the whatever floor. I would get confused. I would get confused in that hospital. I'd be like, oh crap, which direction am I supposed to go in this hospital? And I'd be walking down the hallway with my cart and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's Dr. So-and-so's, or oh yeah, that's the burn unit. Oh yeah, that's a... It was so confusing for me, this direction thing. I would actually be on the elevator, get off the elevator and think, oh my God, which direction am I supposed to go in? It is weird, guys. It is the weirdest thing to be afflicted with. And it truly did make me feel like not normal. It haunted me my whole life, and expressing this now is making me feel like, after reading some of your comments that I just read on my video I made right before this one, it makes me feel so good to know that there are people out there who have struggled with this, because it affects your self-esteem, it affects your self-worth, it affects how you can handle a lot of things in life, because you feel like what's wrong with me? That's all you do. You feel like, what's wrong with me? And you tell yourself, good God, I'm a woman in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and I'm afraid to drive to a place I don't know. I'm afraid to be in a place where I don't know the streets, I don't know anything. It's the weirdest feeling, guys. It's one person made a comment here that I was very happy to read, that let's see, let me see if I can find it. He said, this is Sam 51773. He said, I am directionally challenged as well. It is definitely a handicap and panic inducing. You are not alone. Do you have any idea what it feels like to have somebody else tell you, you're not alone in this? I've got several comments already. I've already gotten, let's see, 27 comments from the one I just posted, and they're all talking about how they may be able to relate to this in a certain way. It's really strange, you know, because when you're going through something like this and you don't share it with everybody and you carry it in your heart and soul for your entire life, it eats away at your heart and soul. And now as I read some of these comments, it's good. Like one, she writes, me too, or he or she writes, me too, me too. And it makes you feel like, oh gosh, I'm not crazy. I'm not in this alone. There are other people, because it does affect your life in so many ways. But there's nothing we can really do about it. And I'm thinking back to, you know, even when I was dating, you know, even in I was in my 40s. After my second divorce, I was dating, and even the guy suggesting I meet him somewhere, it was like, oh my God, do I know that place? Oh, thank goodness it's on this part of town. Okay, I'm good. You see, guys, that could even hinder me if I was even dating, especially the way dating is now. Guys aren't quite the gentlemen they used to be. Now it's you know, drive yourself, pay for yourself, do everything yourself now. That's just the way it is. I see enough of that on videos and stuff. If I met a great guy and he wanted to meet at a restaurant, say on the west side of town, I'd be making up excuses. I'd be like, oh, I'd probably make up an excuse like, oh, I've already been to that with another guy. I don't want to go there. I'd make up excuses because I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know that part of town. I'd have to drive all the way out there by myself. Then when the date was over, I'd have to drive home at night by myself from a place I don't know. I couldn't do it, guys. So this one guy's comment is very true, that it is like a handicap, and so that could affect something as simple as me dating again, guys, because they'd want to meet somewhere in the other side of town, because like I said, I live in the northeast side of town, in the upper northeast heights, and the west side it's way out there. It's way out there, and to navigate myself around there would be very difficult. So you see how that can even affect that could even affect me dating. It could affect me meeting a new friend who, oh, let's meet at such and such a place, you know, way on the other side of town, and I'd be like, oh crap, no, I don't want to do that, you know. If it's on this side of town, no problem, where do you want to meet? But that's just to show you how much it can affect a lot of your life and how it has affected mine. And one person made a comment that said they believe maybe it is from my childhood. Because I don't know where this fear of getting lost, why it's so severe. I mean, everybody goes through a time when they get lost, right? And it's really strange because I had to live overseas for 2 years in Germany. No car, no TV, no radio, back in the 70s. And I managed around there walking. No, I didn't walk far. I kind of stayed within the same vicinity of the apartment we lived in at the time. I was married at the time, a kid, 18-year-old kid in Germany, married to a military guy. Biggest mistake of my life. But anyway, I would walk around the area and I'd navigate, you know, close to home so that I wouldn't get lost. And one time we went to Paris, and so while he was gone with his friend, I was at the hotel alone, and I thought, I don't want to be in here alone. So I started walking in different areas around Paris, but I made sure I was able to see where I was because there was a building with a huge tall tower that I could see, and I knew the hotel was right next to. See how that works? My brain was like, ah, there's that tower. So wherever, even if I would have gotten lost walking around Paris, I knew in my brain it mapped that tower. So if I got lost, I just have to head in the direction of that tower. So you see, so I walked to different little cafes, I walked to little bakeries, the French bakeries, I walked around and I found my way back because of that tower. My brain instantly caught that, because as I was leaving, I remember thinking, God, what am I going to do? How can I walk around here? I don't know, Paris of all places. Talk about a foreign place. And then I happened to turn around to look at the scenery around me, to look at the environment, to try to keep it in my head. And that's when I saw the tower. And I thought, oh, okay. I think it was a church tower, if I remember. And I was able to keep that in my head. And as I walked around, I'd look back and I'd see the tower. I'd walk a little this way, I'd look back, I'd see the tower. So yeah, my brain was able to say, you know where the tower is, you're going to be okay. How weird is that, guys? That's just how it is. And it's been with me for so long. And I, like I said in my last video, I needed to make this video because I have not discussed this in the way that I have with you, with my family, because I was too embarrassed. And I guess I need to do that because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because I didn't go visit them. I don't go visit them on my own. I don't drive out there on my own. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And the only way to get around this is to be honest that, look guys, I have a problem driving in areas that I don't know. And it's a very difficult thing to cope with. And reading these comments that I see here, I can't tell you how much this helps me feel like I'm not alone. I'm just not alone. Here's another one. You're not the only one. I have always had a lot of anxiety about getting lost while driving. And he talks about, since my wife passed 1.5 years ago, I have had anxious moments traveling alone to various destinations. I always traveled with her. I need to travel to see dear friends in a neighboring state. I haven't been able to do it up until now. I think this is similar. I love your channel. You are wonderful. Thank you. That's what he said. You are wonderful. Thank you. And then here's one. I can't even drive. Never could. Well, I can't even imagine that. Bless your heart. Just reading these makes me feel not so alone, not stupid, not like I'm dumb, not like I'm this kind of crazy person. So just read. I want to thank you all already for these comments that I have already received. It's very helpful to someone who's going through something to feel like you're not alone. Because I did for all my life. You know, being 69, all my life I have felt alone in this until I talked to my doctor, and that wasn't that many years ago. So a good portion, major portion of my life, I walked around with this in my head, feeling so horrible about myself. But now that I see someone has been affected by me not visiting them, although I tried to show that I cared by keeping in touch and texting and calling and making sure. I did that every single day. Every single day I'd be checking to make sure they were okay. And although I couldn't go visit them, I cared very deeply, very, very deeply. But But when I see that it's going to affect people and thinking that I don't want to go see them, or I don't want to take the time, or to think that it just benefits me not to go, then it's time to tell people it's not that. It's just this weird fear, this weird thing of getting lost. It's not because it's a benefit to me that I tell somebody, could you come and visit me? No, that's not the case. It's like if that person lives in a place that I am too afraid to go to because of this fear of getting lost for some reason, and I say, could you come visit me? I want to see you. I want to be around you. But unfortunately, because of this condition, driving way out there is very difficult for me. It's a very difficult thing. So, guys, if you suffer from this, my heart goes out to you. If you're directionally challenged, as this one guy says, my heart goes out to you, because it can affect so much in your life, and I just feel bad that there may be so many of you out there going through this, and maybe you haven't been able to share it with anybody either because you felt ashamed or embarrassed. It was something I couldn't share. I couldn't come right out and say, hey, guess what? I have a problem. My brain doesn't function to find places that I don't know, that I'm not aware of. I just couldn't really come out and say that. But when this person told me that I don't visit them because it was easier for that person to come visit me, that it was a benefit to me to not have to get out there, that really hurt a lot. It wasn't that. It's not that. It's not that at all. In fact, I felt extreme guilt that I couldn't do it on my own. I felt extreme guilt that I couldn't do it on my own. But you know what? This is something I'm afflicted with, and I gotta stop keeping inside of me, because it has torn me up for all of my life. It has torn me up to bits. And it's not something that you can just make go away. You can't take pills for it. You know, therapy didn't do any good. It's something, like my doctor said, like she said, it is how your brain functions. It's a tweak in there that just, you just get too confused when you're in an area, and it does induce panic and anxiety. And at my age, I can't do that anymore. I've already suffered severely from anxiety from December of 2023 to all of 23. I just stopped my medication in February, like I said in my previous video. I stopped it because it was affecting me in ways I didn't like. So I've been doing the best I can to cope with my anxiety when it comes up. I talk myself down. I think of things to make me feel better. And this is one of those things that if I can avoid that extent of anxiety by not driving way far to a place that I know nothing about, then that's what I have to do at this moment in time of my life, because at my age, at being 69 years old, I can't handle extreme stresses anymore. It affects me deeply. I get sick. I get to where I just feel sick from extreme stress. I have to go to bed or lie on the couch all day, or my little doggies are on the blanket over there. I can't handle severe stress anymore. So I'm having to figure out what things I can and can't do or deal with so that I don't get that anxiety level way up here anymore. I can't do it. It could affect me very seriously. I mean, it already has, but I need to put a halt to it. So anyway, guys, this is what I'm dealing with. If you are too, and maybe you've been like me where you've made excuses, or you just didn't do something because you knew you couldn't handle the stress of being somewhere where you might get lost and you don't know what you didn't know where you're going to be, what have you. Maybe it's time to talk to those people. Maybe it's time to talk to people you know, so that they're not thinking like I was thought of, that you just didn't want to go because you just didn't want to go, that it was more convenient for you. Because I guess people do think that way, that you're not showing up because it's more convenient, when in reality it's a terrifying ordeal to go through when you have to go through this. Just like somebody else who goes through some other ordeal, it's terrifying for them. I may not go through it, I may not have experienced it, but I see the fear they've gone through, and it's like, oh my God, that must be terrible, must be horrible. Well, that's how it is for me. It is terrible, it is horrible a lot of the times. I mean, not that this happens every day of my life where I'm like, oh my God, I have to go somewhere. No, it's just when it comes up. You know, it comes up. If somebody mentions driving to a place that I have no knowledge of, that's when it comes up really strongly, and it can affect my health. Like, there was one time my heart was just pounding from the stress of thinking of going to one of my son's houses. It was just pounding. I mean, I could actually feel my heart just from the stress of, oh my God, what if I get out there? What if I get lost? Oh my God, what am I going to do? It just didn't, it wouldn't stop. I had to lay down and calm myself down through like a kind of meditation, bring my heart rate down, because I don't know, guys. I don't know what this fear of getting lost is. Because in reality, even if I went to my daughter's and I got lost in Rio Rancho, I could look across, because where she lives, you can look across and see my side of town, which looks like it's a million miles away. I could eventually find my way through some road, I guess, to get back to Albuquerque. If I got lost in some neighborhood or something where I didn't know where the hell I was, because I wasn't on the regular route that I took, if that ever did happen, I could see this side of the city and it'd be like, okay, I'd probably end up taking whatever road I thought. It might end me up somewhere even worse, I don't know, but I could try to figure out, because of that landmark of seeing the mountains on this side of the city. But this is, you know, I realize now that there are people who are going to think that I want nothing to do with them, or I don't care enough to visit them. I don't care enough to be there at their house, when it has nothing to do with caring. It has everything to do with this extreme fear of getting lost. And I honest to God don't know where that came from, or where it comes from. I have to believe that I don't know, maybe childhood, that's all I can think of. Because I remember being so terrified of being lost, of getting lost when I was a little girl. I remember being so terribly terrified. And I remember one time I had a terrible accident at school where I slid on the playground. The playground was just like a regular street pavement. I slid on it and I scraped up my whole face. It was just torn up. I don't know how it didn't scar. But the nun saw me. I was in a Catholic school. She saw it. She said, oh my God, you have to go home. Well, I walked home by myself, this little girl, walking home with my face ripped up. And I remember being so scared because I couldn't figure out how to get there. But I got there. But anyway, guys, the time was running out again. I just had to continue and say thank you for your comments that I've read so far. Thank you for your kindness and understanding. And thank you for watching this video. Thank you so, so much. You guys, take care. Oh.